So if you've used a Moka pot, at some point in time you've probably looked at the results of the Moka pot brewing, and you've noticed some kind of murky mud water left behind in the base after you're done. You're wondering, what is this about? I've seen people ask, how do I not waste the water that's here? Other people say, oh, you want some water left over because that prevents the coffee from being too diluted and it stays stronger. Both of these questions betray a lack of understanding about the basic physics of how a Moka pot works. So in today's video, I'm going to explain to you why there's always some water left behind and how to feel about it. To understand why there's extra water left over in a Moka pot, you have to understand how a Moka pot works. So you've got your water in your little bottom chamber right here. You heat it up. The water actually does not have to boil. And what happens is as the water gets warmer, the vapor pressure, which is the pressure that the water pushes on the air above it, increases, and also the air that's enclosed in the Moka pot increases in volume in accordance with the ideal gas laws. You increase the temperature, the pressure and volume increase. So eventually what happens is the pressure of the air is pushing down on the water hard enough that the water gets pushed up through this tube, and then it percolates through your coffee grounds right here, and it goes into that. Once it gets in the upper part of the Moka pot, then this little air gap here results in the coffee falling down, and then it's just kind of done. Now, unfortunately, you can't really see the inner guts of a Moka pot as it is aluminum and opaque. So I'm going to show you this principle on a siphon brewer, which kind of uses the same principle at the beginning. This is just a bottom chamber, which I filled with some preheated water, an upper glass, and then a filter. And this is just a glass connecting tube. So I'm going to heat up the bottom water the same way that you would be heating up the water in the bottom chamber on a Moka pot. And what that's going to do is as the water gets warmer, it applies more vapor pressure on the air above it. And the air above it is also getting warmer, and so expanding in volume, expanding in pressure. Now, where does that extra pressure go? So notice that because the level of the water is above the bottom of the tube, the air can't go straight through the tube. It can't get there because the water's in the way. All the air can do is push on the water. The water's got nowhere to go except up the tube. And you see what happened is the water got pushed, it went straight up the tube because the pressure on the top of the tube here is just 1 atmosphere, atmospheric pressure, whereas the pressure down here became 1 atmosphere plus whatever we induced by heating up this water here. So what happened is the water got pushed up the tube, and it was only water up the tube. The air couldn't get up the tube because the water was in the way. But notice now that our water level in the bottom chamber is too low, I'm sending air bubbles through it instead of water. The level of the connecting tube doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. So I've kind of got this remainder water left over that I will not be able to get up through the connecting tube no matter how hard I try. Because now what happens is if I expand this air here and I cause its pressure to increase, the air doesn't have to push the water up through the tube. The air can bypass the water and go straight up the tube itself, which is where these bubbles are coming from. So this is what happens in a Moka pot. The connecting tube does not go all the way down to the bottom. Now the exact reasons for that, I'm not sure, but my guess is number one, if it did, you might wind up heating the connecting tube, which is undesirable. And item number two, if you put the tube all the way down to the bottom, you might have issues with getting enough water flow to go through it. So the same thing's happening here. The tube doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, so there's going to be some water left over there. And it's fine. In fact, this is why you want to stop the brewing once you start to get some pale, bubbly coffee coming out of a Moka pot. Because at that point in time, you're doing this. You're sending air up through the coffee grinds with, a little bit of kind of superheated water going through it. And so rather than just sending water through the coffee grinds, you've got this airy, watery mix, which is superheated and not what you want at all. In the 2009 Navarini paper, they refer to this as the Stromboli phase and strongly urge against it happening. So is this a desirable thing? Is it an undesirable thing? You might feel like, well, this water that gets left at the bottom here is just going to be wasted. But that's just kind of part of how the design works. You can't do any better than that. You can't do more efficiently than that. And this is how your siphon brew would work, is once you remove the heat, you get kind of a sudden drop in pressure here and the thing sucks back down. Whereas with a Moka pot, once it's forced through, it's done. So that's really it. It's just a limitation of the design of a Moka pot, and you work with it. In general, these things are designed geometrically to give you a brew ratio that is desirable for how it is built. So really don't try to screw around with that. It doesn't really help you out. You're going to get a brew ratio, water to coffee ratio that comes with the just design of the pot, and that incorporates the fact that some of the water is going to be left behind at the bottom. And like I said, you can't do anything with it. So thanks for watching. Remember to stay coffee snob.